All right, hey folks, how y'all this evening? This is Redneck John, aka how you spell that? AKA Paw Paw. Okay, anyway, damn, you pretty rough. You can't spell AKA, ain't it? Anyway, Kayla wanted me to let y'all know about that time I had a mule. This has been about, I don't know, probably close to 40 years ago now. I had a small mule, and he got missing. And we don't get a whole lot of snow down here in South Carolina. But we had about 4 or 5 inches of snow that year. Just so happened that the mule, which you couldn't lead 20 feet to the barn, decided to jump over the fence and get out. Well, I tracked him a little bit. We had over 100 acres. We had several hundreds of acres that were around there that were not developed or anything, all woods. Anyway, he got out, and I tracked him down toward the old railroad bed. Well, the railroad was very seldom ever pulling any cars through there anymore. They've defunct it now, and it's part of the Carolina Walking Trail. But anyway, he got out. Couldn't find him. Looked and looked and looked. Was gone 16 days, and a friend of the family, had some property across the highway over a mile away. And he was checking on the property. Well, there was an old house over there that he was thinking about renting back out. Nobody had been there for quite a while. Nobody had lived in the thing for several years. Well, he was walking around back there, and he saw something in a hole in the ground. He thought it might have been a bear. We got very few bears around here, but we have had a few. There's a little old black mule. Name was Mike. Hard-headed. Jumped 8 foot straight up. He'd have been a good basketball player if he hadn't figured out a way to make him dunk or something. But anyway, he looked around down there, and he called my granddaddy the next morning and said, "Mr. Glimp, y'all got a little pony or anything missing?" He said, "No, but we got a mule." He said, "Well, he's in a hole back there behind this house down the dirt road over here." My granddaddy said, "Well, he's dead, isn't he? Been missing 16 days. He said, "No, he's still alive." So the next morning, I went over there, found him. He probably lost about 150 pounds because he was stuck in there about 2 weeks. Well, probably 100 pounds anyway. He had eaten every tree root he could find, but what had happened is, thank goodness the septic tank had not been used for several years. And he walked across it during the snowstorm, and the top cracked, and the whole thing just fell right down there in on the bottom. And so he was sitting right there on top of the concrete like, "Hey, I'm good. Just get me out of here." Well, I don't know if y'all know what a skidder is. It skids logs for logging, but it's a great big old tractor type thing. It's got a big old clamp on the back, and it grabs the trees and picks them up. Well, there were some people up down the road down here, and they were pulling up a bunch of the logs that they had cut down in the woods, but they couldn't get to them for all the snow and everything. We had red clay and all the snow and everything, just terrible. So they dragged them from way up down in the bottom up here to the top where it was a loading dock that they had built up next to the dirt road where they could load them on the trucks. Well, it just so happened that I knew him. And I knew the skidder driver. And he's deceased now. His name was James Wicker. We called him Bohog Wicker. And I said, "Hey, Bohog." He said, "Yeah, man, what's going on? What you doing over here?" I said, "I got a mule in a septic tank back over here behind this house." He said, You lying." I said, "No." I said, "I wanted to see if when y'all get a chance, you come over there with that skidder and pull him out. I know you can lift it up some, you know." He said, "We'll be on over there in a little bit." He said, "I wouldn't have believed it if it hadn't been anybody but you, but I know it's you, so I believe it." So, okay. So I took 2 old safety belts and laid around him, tied a big old rope up to him, and got him cinched up. And by the time they came around there, about 30, 45 minutes later, they tied off to him, dropped it down as far as he could. And I said, "All right, pick it up as far as you can." He picked him up. He said, "He's still about a foot of his feet, still down the hole." I said, "Drive forward, they'll drag out." And they did. He got up on his feet. And now, did this like he understood me. He probably didn't, but he acted okay. It might have been just because he was weak, but normally you couldn't walk him, lead him anywhere. Well, I messed around and told him, I said, "Look, If I ain't got any way of getting you home other than to walk you home, and if you get me in trouble, I'm gonna put you right back in that hole. Like he's gonna understand me. I want you to know he walked home fine. Not a bit, never walked that good before or since that I know of. But it took me about a month to get him to go in the barn to eat. And as soon as I finally caught him up in the barn, I loaded him up in the trailer and took him straight to the sales. I don't need this kind of aggravation because my problem is I didn't want him to get out in the highway and somebody hit him, And number one, he get hurt and killed, and he might kill somebody else. But anyway, that is the 100% true story of Mike the mule in a septic tank. And he lived to tell about it. Y'all have a good one. This is Redneck John, a.k.a. Paw Paw. We out.